Hello and welcome to another video update on Bitcoin. We take a look here at the longer time frame today. Looking at the bigger picture, what I like to communicate is that we are likely close to completion here of a larger 5-wave cycle. The current thesis is that we are dealing with a 5-wave pattern from the 2018 low, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and this is the 5th wave. We've been watching for this 5th wave to play out for quite some time, and while already, you could say, minimum requirements for this 5-wave move were fulfilled in November last year, with this additional push higher, we now also have on the micro level 5 waves, well, complete or nearly complete. So Bitcoin in all-time high territory. What we now want to do is understand what would be the effect of the next larger correction. That's something important to mention. Yeah, the effects of the next larger correction. So we want to talk about that as well as where could this 5th wave end? Okay. Now, it's important to understand that I'm not someone who is going to call for a top until we have evidence. That's also, let's say, protected our viewers community in April, because there have been quite a lot of calls for a bear market to already unfold. And while I have to warn and did warn that this could be the case, the preferred interpretation was still for another high, because pullbacks remained corrective in nature. We formed higher lows and we didn't break any support. Okay, so first of all, we need to understand what could be the effect of the next large correction. I mean, once a top is in, because we now have enough waves complete to call this move up complete from the 2022 low, also this move up from the 2018 low, yeah, and potentially even a more substantial top could even be in, okay, depending on how I interpret this entire chart history on the Bitcoin chart. So anyway, a large correction should be on the way then. Not yet, but once we have a top here. And this could be, for example, in one scenario, a larger degree wave 4 correction, which might easily lead to a test of the 2022 lows. So that could be quite a substantial correction. It can also take a long time. I would not be surprised if this takes 3, 4, or 5 years to play out, maybe even longer. But don't think this will necessarily happen in a straight line. It would typically be classed as an A, B, C structure. So the initial move down is an A wave. That could be a buyable dip. So even in this large correction, there can be an opportunity, which would be the B wave, before we then continue lower in wave C. This is one scenario. We cannot really determine targets for that yet, because we have no top. But the first area of support would be to watch for is here. I would say the area around 50,000. This is the previous swing low from August. That's more than a 50% decline. This would be potentially where the A wave could find low. Then a B wave corrective rally. Bear in mind, B waves can even overshoot. So for some people, that might seem like a continuation of the bull market, before we then get the C wave down, which could be like in 2021, 2022, a long correction. But in this case, it might all be a bit larger. Okay, because this is a larger wave degree. So before we go to a second chart where I show you an alternative scenario, let's determine where the rally could end. For example, one way of doing this is we have the length of waves 1 and 3. We go to the low of the wave 4. Need to just make sure that we've got all the highs and lows exactly captured here. Yeah, so one ideal, so you can see that these Fibonacci levels are perfectly respected, right? So you see the 50% extension was a key level here above which the price couldn't get. So we are now breaking above it. The next key level is around $130,000. So that could be first wave 5 target. This will be a key level, the $130,000 level. There are other ways to measure this target, but they all point towards round about 130,000. Doesn't mean this has to be the maximum, but it's been my milestone target for quite some time. So here again, you know, as long as we don't have a top confirmed, this can extend. I could be wrong about this assessment, that this is the last rally of the last rally. I think caution is advised, recommended, yeah. Just be cautious, you know. What that means for you and your portfolio depends on you and your risk tolerance and risk profile. But please note, we are now officially in all-time high territory. We have, even on the micro structure level, 5 waves up completed. What can I say? You know, this is potentially nearly done, this rally, okay? But we know that also fifth waves can extend. So we don't want to confirm a top until we actually break support levels, which we're tracking on the smaller time frames. Now, I wanted to show you as well an alternative scenario. So one alternative scenario indicates also that a substantial top could be in soon. I even have a different target level on here, but it's at around 133,000. That's pretty much the same level. So also 2 levels there pointing towards 130,000, right? I've also listed here on the chart already, like just with this symbol, just to show where a top could form. And the next correction here could be a slightly different structure. So while in the previous scenario, the move up ends something, this move up from the 2022 low starts something. It would be the wave 1 of a larger 5-wave pattern in the C wave. So it's the start. But even then, after 5 waves from the 2022 low, we should watch for a larger correction, which would appear similar as an ABC structure, but would be much smaller in size, much smaller in duration. We would also look for an ABC pattern, okay? So either way, these A waves would be a buyable dip. Here, the difference between this one and the previous one, only this rally will be corrected from the 2022 low. In the previous one, you could say the all-time rally, the long-term chart will be corrected. It's important to be prepared for both. In both cases, significant swing lows can be buyable dips, because then the rally after this correction would be a third wave, most likely, and can take us to 330,000 plus, potentially even 500,000, 1 million long term. That's the view. So there's even another chart. We are normally using the linear chart, the logarithmic chart, to chart Bitcoin, but there is a way to chart Bitcoin also on the linear chart. It's just a different scale. Yeah, it's the arithmetic scale, the linear scale. Here also we can identify that we're in a 5th wave to the upside, and the next correction would be a large wave 2. And also here we would need to measure it and include the 78.6 retracement. So this would be also here a potential target area. But these are just estimates. Yeah, these are estimates. I would say especially the area around 50,000 could be an interesting area to watch. But all of these areas, these support areas, will move with the price as we still climb higher. There could be some resistance around 116K that might be worth watching for. Yeah, that's the update on Bitcoin. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.